Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I hope now you can see my screen, also hear my voice clearly. So today we've started a bit earlier. It's supposed to be here like around in three hours time, but we've chosen to do it now because this is the correct time. So we'll start off. We're going to start off by first analyzing Brent oil. Let's see exactly what we expect to be happening with it, and then we're going to move forward to the next symbol, which is going to be WTI. So both of them are oil. They're just the same thing, one and the same thing, but we want to look at some of the correlation that exists between the two. That's the same thing. We are looking at just the same thing with different name. So let's start off. We are going to start off with Brent oil. We'll have that on my screen. That looks. If you look at the chart, exactly. If you look at this chart from the daily point of view, you may not be able to see exactly what I'm saying, but if you check it from the monthly point of view, you'll be able to understand exactly what I'm referring to. Hello. Yes, I hope now you can hear me somehow. You should be able to hear me now clearly. So we have Brent oil. Brent oil, so far we're within some shape. You can see that this is from last month. The price has remained confined within some shape. There was this big move up, it came down, continued up, it came down, then it continued to consolidate within the shape which you're having. So on this chart, basically we want price to close above the upper trend line successfully. If the price can break beyond this level, we'll simply wait for pullback, then we pick a second buy position up to this point. That's what we expect to be happening. We expect price to retrace back, break above the upper trend line, retrace back to the same place, and then continue to the upper side up to the level which I've just mentioned. So the idea is not to look for a trade now, rather wait for price to break above the upper trend line. That's if you're looking at the daily chart, the daily time from the chart where we are now, wait for price to break above the upper trend line, retrace back, and then continue to the upper side. So the upward momentum which I'm actually recommending is because you can see from the two indicators we're having, we have the ADX, this is pointing upwards, and then we also have the alligator indicator which too is pointing upwards. So simply expect price to continue up, retrace back, and then continue to the upper side. This is what will likely happen. This is what will happen. The price may break above, retrace back, and then continue up to this point. So the idea is not to look for a buy now, but wait for price to break beyond the upper trend line. Wait for price to break above, retrace back, and then continue to the upper side. That is what we are waiting for. The next chart, we want to look at the same chart from the weekly point of view. Weekly actually looks much more clear. You can basically see that we are struggling. The price is struggling within the previous week's candle. We have this. We have you can see this consolidation, indecision candle, indecision, indecision, indecision. The current week's candle has not closed just yet. So we expect it to, if it closes above the upper line, we do expect a continuation up to 53.64. But if it breaks and closes below the lower trend line, then that may mean we are now continuing to the lower side. But the downward moment, I don't recommend the sell so far. I don't recommend a sell, because from the indicator we're having, from the alligator indicator, you can see that we are upwards. From the other indicator which you're having, this one too is upwards, which means we expect the price to continue to the upper side. So the idea now is to wait for some pullbacks, wait for price to give us, to retrace back to the lower side, so that we can pick a low risk buy position at the lowest possible risk. So that's according to the weekly. As you can see so far, from the daily chart, we do expect a move to the upper side. From the weekly chart, we still expect a move to the upper side. So let's see what we have on the monthly chart. On the monthly chart, there's something it looks slightly different, because this has a support here. It should act as a resistance in the near future, which means the move you're currently seeing to the upper side, this upward momentum you're seeing, this move, this one, this, and this, all of them point the same direction, that is upwards. So we expect price to continue up to 53.64. This is the best place where you'd like to look for a sell from. So there's a trend line from the top, which is this. We have a resistance, we have a resistance. The price is currently moving to the upper side. We expect it to go up to this point, where we should be able to look for a sell from. So technically, this is the correct place you want to sell from. This is the correct place you want to be looking for a sell from. So if you're on Brent oil now and you're looking forward to having a good trade on it, you should be looking for buy positions. Based on the monthly chart, we are upwards. If we check the weekly chart, we are still upwards, and if we check the daily chart, we are still upwards. this means just one thing, that somehow oil is recovering. So somehow, if you check properly, you can see that Brent oil is actually recovering after the drop which we saw earlier this year. After this massive drop for like this, how many months? 1, 2. After like 4 months, we have for the like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, we've not even gone past 3.5 of the previous one. So this means somehow we don't expect price to go beyond this level 53.64. This move you're seeing upwards is actually just some pullback to the upper side and may likely not break beyond this point. So the reason I'm marking this level is not only because it's horizontally it's a good level, but diagonally we also have it as a good resistance. You can see from this point, you can see from this point, and we expect the same place to be a resistance in the future. So we'll look at our next chart. We look at our next chart. We want to look at WTI. We look at WTI here. So the same way we did with Brent oil, you're going to start analysis from the daily, then shift slowly to weekly, then you're going to move to monthly so that we finalize. On the daily, this is what we have. The same setup which we saw on Brent oil is the same one which we are currently seeing here. So we have this, the lower trend line, this one, and then you have the trend line from the top, this one. You can see we had a resistance, a resistance, a resistance, and then the previous week's candle actually, this is the today's candle. If this candle can successfully close above the upper trend line, then that will mean we are continuing upwards. If the current week's candle, day's candle successfully closes above the upper trend line, then that will now mean we are upwards. That will mean we are continuing to the upper side. And if that does not happen, that is, if the price fails to break above the upper trend line, instead it closes below, then we may want to look for a low risk sell position from that point, expecting that sell to push price downwards, but should not break below the lower trend. That's exactly what we expect to be happening. So I hope that makes some sense. The same thing we expect to be happening on Brent oil is the exact same thing we expect to be happening. We expect to be happening on WTI. So as I mentioned from the beginning, all these, they are oil. They are oil. They are oil, just that they have different names. All of them are supposed to be moving in the same direction. So if you have a buy in any of them, ensure you look for a buy on the other one. So I hope that is clear. That should be, I hope that is a bit clearer, that if you are looking for a buy on one, ensure you are also looking for a buy on the other one. The two are supposed to be moving in the same direction. So on the daily chart, both of them, WTI and Brent oil, we expect a move to the upper side. Both of them, we do expect a move to the upper side. We actually expect a break above the upper trend line so that we continue upwards. If the price does not break above on both of them, then that may mean we are now reversing to the lower side. So the next we want to look at the same chart from another time, weekly. You can see the same struggling which you had on Brent oil is the same struggling we had here for this duration. This is from when? From June date 7. The price continues to be held within these two lines. You can see we struggled. There was nothing much. The previous week we had nothing. This week we are now seeing some bit of momentum. So if the price can break above the upper trend line, that will mean we are now continuing upwards. If the price successfully closes above the upper trend line, that will mean we are now continuing to the upper side. So the idea here will be to wait for price to retrace back to the same place, then pick a buy position. If that does not happen, then we are short. So we also want to look at the same chart from the weekly point of view. So look at this. This is the same trend line we had on the monthly chart for Brent oil. This is the exact same trend line. If you move this line from that point to this level, then you shift it up slowly downwards, you can see that we expect a sell in the near future. There's a very good support which is here, a support which is here, which was broken, and now as we are speaking, the price is approaching the same place. So this is the correct place to look for a sell from. This is the ideal place where you want to look for a sell from. We basically want price to, if possible, the price needs to pull back up to this point. If that does not happen, then this should be the correct place to look for a sell from. The two lines, 46.76, 45.41. This is the correct zone where we want to look for a sell from. So we've looked at Brent oil and also WTI, which I'm currently looking at. As I mentioned at the beginning, these two are supposed to be moving in the same thing. They are one and the same thing. They are oil. So trading both of them at the same time makes more sense. If you want to make good money, ensure you trade both of them at the same time. So when there's a sell on Brent oil, don't just enter Brent oil and leave it. Enter also WTI. And if there's a sell on WTI, but you can't see the same signal on Brent oil, you can just enter blindly Brent oil. But the best way is when both of them do the same thing at the same time. That is, if you see, maybe you see a bearish pin bar here. This is an engulfing candle. If you see an engulfing candle on WTI, then at the same time you see an engulfing candle on Brent oil, then that's always the correct time to look for a trade. It's always the ideal time when you can really make good money. So thank you very much. That should bring us to the end of today's session. We'd like to meet again next week at the same time. So thank you very much. See you.